Ndasya Yananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhamvitamsha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Welcome back to the Bhaktisashtri course on Ishupanisads. In the last class, we discussed partly Mantra 17. So today we will continue that discussion. So we'll once again recite Mantra 17 and then further where we left, that's where we will continue from. So Mantra 17 is, as I mentioned, it is very moving to the heart. It's a very devotional prayer, you can see. Vayuranilam amritam athedam vasmantam shariram Om Krutosmara Kritam Smara Kritosmara Kritam Smara. Let this body be burned to ashes. Athedam Vasmantam Shariram. And let the life of air be merged into the totality of air. Vayur Anilam Amritam. Now, O my Lord, Om, please remember Kritosmara, all my sacrifices, Kritam Smara. And because you are the unlimited beneficiary, Krito, please remember Smara, all that I have done for you, Kritam Smara. So we saw that how in this particular section in the 17 and 18, the prayer of the Rishi is to take him through all the obstacles of Arnesian life so that he can reach the Lord who is in the personal aspect, because the personal aspect has been emphasized in Mantra 15 and 16. So there the obstacle was more in the form of the dazzling effulgence of the Brahmajyoti, so that his form is revealed. And here uh, the obstacle is more from the devotee side because of his obstacles which, you know, of his conditioned life. So that's what the discussion was going on. And we completed three themes as far as I remember. The material body is a foreign dress and must be given up. The best way to give up the body is by surrendering to the Lord, not by going to the Brahmajyoti. And the importance of the last thought. I remember discussing all these concepts, especially the importance of the last thought is where we finished our discussion. Yeah, this was, Yam Yam Vapi Smaran Bhavam. Okay. So now, further in the themes, the next theme is uh, Krishna never forgets our service to him. This is paragraphs 8 and so we'll read paragraphs 8 and 9 and then further discuss on it. So let's go to the Srila Prabhupada Upanishads. This is paragraph 1, 2, and 1, 2, and 3. So paragraphs 1 to 3 was giving up the material body is a foreign dress. And then 4 and 5 was surrendering, not going to the Brahma Jyoti. And then 6 and 7 is the last thought. 6 and 7. Now, 8 and 9. So who will read 8 and 9? Who will read paragraphs 8 and 9? Dhanalakshmi Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Yes.
Unlike the simple animals, we have no developed mind who have, unlike the simple animals who have no developed mind, the dying human being can remember the activities of his life like dreams at night. Therefore, his mind remains surcharged with material desires, and consequently, he cannot enter into the spiritual kingdom with the spiritual body. The devotees, however, develop a sense of love for Godhead by practicing devotional service to the Lord. Even if at the time of death a devotee does not remember his service to the Lord does not forget him. This prayer is given to remind the Lord of the devotee's sacrifice. But even if there is no such reminder, the Lord does not forget the service rendered by his pure devotee.
Yeah, this part we had discussed in the last class, and we mentioned that somebody had put a question that why the devotee has to tell the Lord to remember. So that this prayer is more like it's not a pure devotional prayer, and that's why Prabhupada distinguishes between the two, rendered by his pure devotee, and here he only mentions devotee. So now paragraph 8 and 9 is from here. So you'll have to start from here, paragraph 8. Mataji.
The Lord clearly describes his intimate relationship with his devotees in the Bhagavad Gita 9.30 and 34. Even if one commits the most abominable action, if he is engaged in devotional service, he is to be considered saintly because he is properly situated in his determination. He quickly becomes righteous and attains lasting peace. O son of Kunti, declare it boldly that my devotee never perishes. O son of Pritha, those who temporarily um, O son of Pritha, those who take shelter in me, though they be of lower birth, women, Vaishyas, merchants, as well as Sudras workers, can attain the supreme destination. How much more this is so of the righteous Brahmanas, the devotees and the saintly kings. Therefore, having come to this temporary, miserable world, engage in loving service unto me. Engage your mind always in thinking of me. Become my devotee, offer obeisances to me, and worship me. Being completely absorbed in me, surely you will come to me. Srila
Yes.
Bhaktivinoda Thakura explains these verses in this way. One should regard One should regard a devotee of Krishna to be on the right path of the saints, even though such a devotee may seem to be sudurachara, a person of loose character. One should try to understand the real purport of the word sudurachara. A conditioned soul has to act for double functions, namely for the maintenance of the body and again for self realization. Social status, mental development, cleanliness, austerity, nourishment, and the struggle for existence are all for the maintenance of the body. The self realization part of one's activities is executed in one's occupation as a devotee of the Lord, and one performs actions in that connection also. One must perform these two different functions along parallel lines because a conditioned soul cannot give up the maintenance of his body. The proportion of activities for maintenance of the body decreases, however, in proportion to the increase in devotional service. As long as the proportion of devotional service does not come to the right point, there is a chance for an occasional exhibition of worldliness. But it should be noted that such worldliness cannot continue for long because, by the grace of the Lord, such imperfections will come to an end very shortly. Therefore, the path of devotional service is the only right path. If one is on the right path, even an occasional occurrence of worldliness does not hamper one of the advancement of self realization. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. So here in these two paragraphs, Prabhupada is stating this very important theme, how Krishna never forgets our service to him. Uh, and Prabhupada is quoting 9.30 to 34. Prabhupada is just paraphrasing 9.32, 34 in this paragraph. And Prabhupada mentions that the Lord has a very intimate relationship with his devotees. In fact, this section of the Gita, and especially these verses, and especially 9 point, I think it is 31 or 30, let me just check. Yeah, 9.30. It's the most confidential knowledge. And, if one can understand this verse and live his life according to this verse, then he can attain perfection. So, time doesn't permit us here to go into an elaborate discussion on this verse and this whole theme. That will require at least 2 hours of discussion based on Prabhupada's commentary, Vishwanath Chandra Thakur, Baldev Vidyabhushan, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur. But in essence, if you see in the middle 6 chapters, that is chapters 7 to 12, Bhakti Yoga has been discussed. And Krishna especially glorifies Ananya Bhakti. And one who practices Ananya Bhakti will come to me, Krishna assures that. Not for Mishra Bhakti. Very clearly, he establishes that. And this 9th chapter and the 10th chapter, in one sense, are the middle chapters of the 18 chapters of the Gita. And this 9th chapter is called as the Raj Guhya Yoga, the most confidential knowledge. And the most confidential knowledge is this 9.30 verse. Api chetsu duracharo bhajate mam ananya bhak. Sadhu reva samantavya samyak vyavastito hi saha. This verse is very, very important for us to understand. And Prabhupada is, is explaining practically the commentary of Bhaktivinoda Thakur on this verse of Bhagavad Gita, especially 9.30. Prabhupada's entire paragraph is actually 9.30 verse, commentary of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Now, anyone knows which commentary of Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains this verse? And anyone knows also that Bhaktivinoda Thakur wrote actually commentaries on the Gita, but his commentary names are different. So anyone knows about it? Raise your hands. Anyone is aware? Any of the devotees are aware? No hands are up. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur wrote two commentaries on the Gita. When he read the Vishwanath Chakra Thakur commentary on the Gita, which is Sarartha Varshini, so it is more of a Rasika commentary. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur, after reading the commentary of Vishwanath Chakra Thakur, he wrote a commentary on a commentary, which is called as Tika, following following Vishwanath Chakra Thakur, and he titled that as the Rasika Ranjan. Ranjan means to take pleasure in, and those Rasikas who take pleasure in the Gita's commentary as the Rasika Ranjan commentary. And then he read the Gita Bhushan of Baldev Vidya Bhushan. And after that, he wrote a sub-commentary called as the Vidvat Ranjan. So because Baldev Vidya Bhushan's commentary is uh, called as, is more philosophical, and it is trying to establish the tattva that Krishna is absolute truth. Whereas in the Vishwanath Chakra Thakur's commentary, he's more relishing the rasa and what are the exchanges, what is going on in Krishna's heart, what is going on in Arjuna's heart, and he brings out that in the form of conversations. So it's very beautiful. So these were the two sub-commentaries Bhaktivinoda Thakur wrote, and this is from the Rasika Ranjan. In fact, Prabhupada's Gita commentary more follows Vidya Bhushan, and very rarely he takes from the Vishwanath Chakra Thakur's commentary. Very few places, or very rarely he takes in his Gita commentary. But few of the purports, Srila Prabhupada completely took from Bhaktivinoda Thakur's Rasika Ranjan commentary. And especially 9.30 verse, Prabhupada completely paraphrases Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Similarly, 2.47 also of the Gita. And then there's another verse which I don't recollect now. So like that, Prabhupada, took the commentaries of all these various acharyas and the essence. So here, what Bhaktivinoda Thakur has to say in his commentary, Prabhupada is just mentioning. Now, I have put this in the form of a slide, and we'll just go through it briefly, as I mentioned. So, Bhaktivinoda Thakur is mentioning that there are two types of activities: conditional activities, constitutional activities. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur is very famous for terminologies. I've not put these terminologies here. So he gives conditional activities as, he terms them as sambandhika, and constitutional activities as swarupgata. Swarupgata. So conditional activities means when we have the conditioning of especially the subtle body. Subtle body has a conditioned nature. And to maintain the body, we need to do conditional activities based on our sabhava. Sabhava is the nature of the conditioning, whether one is in the mode of goodness, passion, or ignorance, and the mixed modes. So the conditional activities are social status, mental development, cleanliness, austerity, nourishment, and the struggle for existence are all for the maintenance of the body. So these are all conditional activities which we perform. And then constitutional activities, it says self-realization part as one activities is executed in one's salvation as a devotee of the Lord. So Prabhupada's commentary, if you read, it follows Bhaktivinoda Thakur. If you now once again go and read back, you'll understand. So the conditional activities continue as long as one is under the influence of the modes, even when takes up to sadhana bhakti. And slowly, slowly, with the anarth nivritti, when one transcends the conditionings, then one is situated on the transcendental platform and his devotion then begins. Here, real devotion begins. Parabhakti begins in one sense. So that time, he is no more much taking care of the maintenance of the body, and he is more, satatam kirtayanto mam yatantascha dridavata namasyante tu mam bhaktya nityayukto pasate. He is continuously doing constitutional activities, that is the Navvidha Bhakti or the 64 limbs of devotional service. But as long as one is not situated on the transcendental platform, these conditional activities and constitutional activities go on parallelly. So in the morning, we get up, Mangalarti, we chant our rounds, we read the Bhagavatam, and then we go out to work. And whole day we are working, and that's all for the maintenance of the body. So there are conditional activities going on. And then evening we come, we perform arti, and we sing some bhajans. These are constitutional activities. So a combination of conditional and constitutional activities are going on. And that's why the bhakti uh, in this state is, in one sense, Mishra Bhakti. But one who transcends the conditioning and comes to the transcendental platform, then he practices a Mishra Bhakti or Kevala Bhakti. Kevala Bhakti. That's what I was mentioning, that, when you situated in the transcendental platform, then pure devotional service begins. Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma na sochati na kankshati sama sarveshu bhuteshu mad bhakti labate param. Para Bhakti begins from there. Now, Prabhupada explains in his purport also in the Gita, and same thing he has paraphrased from Bhaktivinoda Thakur's commentary, that these are going on parallelly. And in the conditioning now, there are unlimited impressions called as vasanas. And while a devotee is very careful, but sometimes because of accident or occasional occurrences, as the term has been used, one might succumb to the vasanas and commit something which he would never think of. And that is why the term has been used, apichet. Apichet sudurachar. He commits a very durachar activity. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his commentary mentions what are these sudurachar, such as killing of others, stealing others' wealth, having illicit relationship with others' wives. All these are sudurachar activities. But even if he commits such a dudhrachal activities accidentally, samyak vyavastito hi sa. Apichet suduracharo bhajate ma mananimak. He still, doesn't give up bhakti, doesn't take to jnana, karma, or ashtanga. Krishna is saying sadhureva samantavya. Krishna says he's a sadhu, and this is my mata. But if we see him, oh, he's such a sinful person, he has committed this sinful activity, then we are seeing fault in him and we are committing aparadh. He has committed sin, and we as devotees, if we find fault with him because of his conditioning, he has committed this abominable activity. So we see this fault, then we commit aparadh against him. But he will get purified of that. Shipram bhavati dharmatma shashvat shantim nigachati kaunteha prachidani namai bhakta pranashati. Krishna is saying. So that is why Krishna is assuring that, Krishna has a very deep relationship with his devotee. And Vishwanath Chakra Thakur's commentary, if you read it, is very heart-rendering and moving. Vishwanath Chakra Thakur begins by saying what is going on in Krishna's heart. He says, my nature is my attachment to my devotees. I cannot give up that nature, he says. Even if, he is having wife, children, and all that, if he's having all these family attachments, still, because I am attached to my devotee, that's my nature, he says. And even if he commits something sinful, still, he should be considered saintly. Like that, the whole conversation goes on between Arjuna and Krishna. So one should remember that these are these two kinds of activities we are doing. And sometimes We are balancing and going, things are going on a parallel track, but our conditioning takes over and we might do something abominable. But Krishna purifies that devotee from within, and very quickly he becomes righteous, and ultimately he will attain the Lord. But those who find fault and commit Vaishnava Aparadh, they get implicated. So one should be very, very careful about it and understand this most confidential knowledge. So I will not further discuss on this verse because, as I mentioned, we need 1 or 2 hours of discussion on this 3 verses. So any questions on this? Uh, if it's there, then I can take up, or we can go to the next theme. Any questions? Anyone has? Virendra Yadav, Prabhuji. Yes. Yes, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam.
Yeah.
Prabhu, here Sudurachar, it refers to a person of loose character. This is what it is written. So, how we are referring it as a accidental fall down.
Mm, person of loose character. Devotee may be seen to Zuraj, a person of loose character. Yeah, that's why if a person is of a loose character, then he might, you know, commit all these kind of sinful activities, illicit activities. So that is why Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his commentary and Srila Jiva Goswami also explains that a devotee means he's of very high character. He's of very high character, and how that is exhibited is because he follows the principles of devotional service very meticulously. So there is no question of a pure devotee who is of a very high character committing a sudurachara activity, because his faith in the Lord, faith in the bhakti is very strong. So this refers to especially neophytes, the Kanishta Adhikaris, who still don't have that kind of faith. Their Shraddha is not Shastriya Shraddha, but Lok Parampara Jata Shraddha. So one is who is a Kanishta Adhikari is having Lok Parampara Jata Shraddha. And that's why, he might, because his faith is weak and feeble, he might commit activities which are against the principles of devotional service. Even if such activities are committed, but still that is because of his conditioning. And, Krishna will quickly purify him. So that's how we need to understand it. Is it clear, Prabhuji?
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you.
Any other questions anyone has? Okay. So the next theme is very simple, and here Krishna's mercy is ever available to devotional service. Paragraph 10 and 11. So who will read paragraph 10 and 11? 10 and 11. Vrajeshwari Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Dandavat Pranam. Yeah. The facility of devotional service are denied the impersonalist because they are attached to the Brahma Jyotir feature of the Lord. As suggested in the previous mantra, they cannot penetrate the Brahma Jyotir because they do not believe in the personality of Godhead. Their business is mostly word jugglery and mental speculation. Consequently, the impersonalists pursue a fruitless labor as confirmed in the 12th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita 12.5. All the facilities suggested in this mantra can be easily obtained by constant contact with the personal feature of the Absolute Truth. Devotional service to the Lord consists essentially of 9 transcendental activities. First, hearing about the Lord. Second, glorifying the Lord. Third, remembering the Lord. Fourth, serving the lotus feet of the Lord. Fifth, worshipping the Lord. Sixth, offering prayers to the Lord. Seventh, serving the Lord. Eighth, enjoying friendly association with the Lord. And ninth, surrendering everything unto the Lord. These 9 principles of devotional service, taken all together or one by one, helps a devotee remain constantly in touch with God. In this way, at the end of life, it is easy for the devotee to remember the Lord. By adopting only one of these 9 principles, the following renounced devotee of the Lord were able to achieve the highest perfection. First, by hearing the Lord, Maharaj Parikshit, the hero of Srimad Bhagavatam, attended the desired result. Second, just by glorifying the Lord, Sukadev Goswami, the speaker of Srimad Bhagavatam, attended his perfection. Third, by praying to the Lord, Akrura attended the desired result. Fourth, by remembering the Lord, Prahlad Maharaj attended the desired result. Fifth, by worshipping the Lord, Prithu Maharaj attended perfection. Sixth, by serving the lotus feet of the Lord, the goddesses of fortune, Lakshmi Devi attended perfection. Seventh, by rendering personal service to the Lord, Hanuman attended the desired result. Eighth,
Attained.
through his
Attained. Attained.
attained perfection. By rendering personal service to the Lord, Hanuman attained the desired result. Eighth, through his friendship with the Lord, Arjuna attained the desired result. Ninth, by surrendering everything he had to the Lord, Maharaj Bali attained the desired result.
Yeah. So here you can see in this paragraph 9 and 10, the theme is Krishna's mercy is ever available through devotional service, not through other processes. And Prabhupada is bringing out that theme here, that these facilities of devotional service, what facility, that even if he's a Suduracharo, Krishna will purify him and ultimately he'll become a Dharmatma and he'll attain him. So these facilities are denied for impersonalist. The impersonalists cannot penetrate the Brahmajyoti because they do not believe in the personal feature of the absolute truth. They are more interested in word jugglery and mental fixation. And this is Klesho Adikarastesham, this path. And these facilities, which are suggested in the mantra of, kindly, what is this? Remember me so that I can attain you, that these facility, because ultimately to attain the Lord, one has to remember the Lord at the time of death. And all that begins with the Navvidha Bhakti. And that's why Prabhupada quotes this Navvidha Bhakti, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atma, Nivedanam. And then Prabhupada, how by any one or all together, one can be in touch with the Lord, constantly in touch with the Lord. And he gives example by Shravanam Maharaj, Parikshit attained, Kirtanam, Sukhdev, Smaranam, Prahlad Maharaj, all these examples he gives. Now here I would like to only make one point that although these are the 9 limbs of devotional service, but Kirtanam stands above all. In fact, it is the king of all sadhanas. And you can see in hearing, we are hearing the Mahamantra. And while glorifying, we are glorifying the Mahamantra. Smaranam also, it is included. Serving the Lord's lotus feet means, you sing the glories of the Lord while serving the Lord. Worshipping the Lord. When you're doing Archanam, you're singing the bhajans, the Lord's names. Offering prayers, also everything is included there. So Kirtanam stands above all. This is how Jiva Goswami explains. And Chaitanya Charitamrita also makes this point. Tara Madhe Sarvashresht Nama Sankirtan Niraprada Namalay Paye Premadan. So among these 9 limbs, Sarvashresht, the topmost is Nama Sankirtan. That is the chanting of the holy names. and niraprade. If without committing any offenses, if we chant the name, we'll attain premadhan, we'll attain the prayojan. So Kirtanam is the Mukhya Anga. It is the Mukhya Anga. And today in Kali Yuga, although these examples of there of perfection of how these great devotees, just by practicing one Anga, they attain perfection. In Kali Yuga, it is not possible. It's very rare. And these are rare examples. Please remember that. In Kali Yuga, it is, we have to practice the combination of all these. And especially everything should be accompanied by Kirtanam. That's why you see Prabhupada's temple, the standard was, even when the Aarti is going on, the Hare Krishna Kirtan is going on either in the background or, the devotees are singing songs and then followed by Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Even when Prabhupada's sannyas was happening, the mantras were chanted in the yagya, but Prabhupada, indicated to, Akinchan Krishnadas Babaji Maharaj, who was softly chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. No, you chant loudly. So Prabhupada knew the essence. So it is Kirtanam that we should remember. Okay, now the last, second last theme is Bhagavatam elaborates this verse and all other verses. I mean this mantra, because this is a mantra. Okay, anyway, we'll take care of it later on. So who will read? Okay, I'll change it. It has to be. Who will read? Who will volunteer? Okay, Devhuti Kapil Prabhuji. One second. Okay, any questions also? If you have, you can always free to ask. Yes. Yeah. Continue.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Actually, the explanation of this mantra and of practically all the mantras of Vedic hymns is summarized in the Vedanta Sutra and properly explained in Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam is the mature fruit of Vedic tree of wisdom. In Srimad Bhagavatam, this particular mantra is explained in the questions and answers between Maharaj Parikshit and Shukadeva Goswami at the very beginning of their meeting. Hearing and chanting of the signs of God is the basic principle of devotional life. The complete Bhagavatam was heard by Maharaj Parikshit and chanted by Shukadeva Goswami. Maharaj Parikshit inquired from Shukadeva Goswami because Shukadeva was a greater spiritual master than any great yogi or transcendentalist of his time.
You can continue this.
Maharaj Parikshit's main question was, what is the duty of every man? Shukadeva Goswami answered, Tasmad Bharata Sarvatma, Bhagavan Ishvaro Hariha, Shrotavya Kirtavyascha, Smartavyas Chechatabhayam. Everyone who desires to be free from all anxieties should always hear about, glorify, and remember the personality of Godhead, who is the supreme director of everything, the extinguisher of all difficulties, and the supersoul of all living entities. Srimad Bhagavatam 2.1.5.
2 paragraphs. Last theme is 13, 14, and 15. Okay, only I think this one paragraph, the second paragraph, what you read is part of this theme. Bhagavatam elaborates this mantra and all other mantras. So only it was supposed to be this paragraph. So here, in this paragraph, because Bhagavatam is Sarva Vedanta Saram hi Srimad Bhagavatam Ishyate Tadrasamrita Triptasya Nanyat Swadrati Kvachit. It is the essence of the Vedanta philosophy. So whatever this Isopanisad mantra is speaking, and practically all the mantras is summarized in the Vedanta Sutra, and which is more elaborately explained in the Bhagavatam. Because Bhagavatam is the Nigama Kalpa Taror Ghalitam Phalam. And how this mantra is explained, Prabhupada is saying it is explained through question and answers between Maharaj Parikshit and Sukadeva Goswami. And it is, through hearing and chanting. Hearing was done by Parikshit, chanting was done by Sukdev. So now in these three paragraphs, the theme will be prepare for death by devotional practice, 13, 14, and 15. So in that, Prabhuji read the 13th paragraph. So somebody can read the 14th and 15th, and then we'll summarize the discussion. Who will read 13th and 14th? Dwarkadish Prabhuji, yes.
Hare Krishna.
Yes. This is
Starting from the so-called everyone. Everyone who desires to be free from all anxieties should always hear about, glorify, and remember of personality
no, that is
Godhead.
over. That is over. Is so-called human
So-called,
society.
yeah, okay. So-called human society is generally engaged at night in sleeping and having sex, and during the daytime in earning as much as any possible, or else in the shopping for family maintenance. People have very little time to talk about the personality of Godhead or to inquire about him. They have dismissed God's existence in so many ways, primarily by declaring him to be impersonal, that is, without sense perception. But in Vedic literature, whether the Upanishads, Vedanta Sutra, Bhagavad Gita, or Srimad Bhagavatam, it is declared that the Lord is a sentient being and is supreme over all the other living entities. His glorious activities are identical with himself. One should therefore not indulge in hearing and speaking of the rubbish activities of worldly politicians and so-called big men in society, but should mold his life in such a way that he can engage in godly activities without wasting a second. Sri Isopanisad directs us toward such godly activities.
Last paragraph.
Unless one is accustomed to devotional service, what will he remember at the time of death, when the body is dislocated, and how can he pray to Almighty Lord to remember his sacrifices? Sacrifice means denying the interest of the senses. One has to learn this art by employing the senses in the service of the Lord during one's lifetime. One can utilize the results of such practice at the time of death. Hare Krishna.
Here you saw the theme was, how to prepare oneself at the time of death, preparing for death by devotional service. So the classic example is, of Parikshit Maharaj. Parikshit Maharaj was cursed to die in 7 days, and he retired from his kingdom and went to the bank of Ganga or Yamuna. And then he asked the sages who had all assembled there, what is my duty? And then Sukdev came and he put forth these questions, which are there in the first canto, 19th chapter. In the second canto, Sukdev Goswami starts speaking. So there are two questions asked by Parikshit Maharaj, which are called as the seminal questions of the Bhagavatam. Just like semen is the essence, from which a whole human being or a human body develops. So similarly, these seminal questions are the essential questions by which the whole Bhagavatam unfolds. So what are those questions? What is the duty of every man, especially a man who is about to die? First, you can see the consciousness of Parikshit Maharaj. He is asking question first for others' concern, because duty of everyone, and then in his own situation, because he's about to die. Then he puts out that so there are two parts in this question. What is the duty of everyone? of all people, and specifically of a person who's about to die. And the second question was what one should hear, chant, and remember, and what one should not hear, not chant, and not remember. So both the Vidhi and the Nished is there. What one should do, and what one should not do. So Sukdev Goswami starts speaking and starts answering. First of all, he glorifies, that your question is glorious because it is related to self-realization, and all the great sages approve it. And then he starts answering, Shrotavyadini Rajendra, Nunam Santi Sahasra, Sa Apashyatam Atma Tattvam Griheshu Grahamedinam. 2.1.2. There are many subjects for the Grahamedis who discuss. Because why? Apashyatam. They don't have, eyes steeped in self-realization. Apashyatam Atma Tattvam. Pashyan na pashyati. Further also we'll say. And such people are what? In the daytime, engaged in having sex. In the nighttime, sleeping. Or in the daytime, they're earning and doing shopping for family maintenance. So Prabhupada is summarizing that verse also here, you can see. And then after, what one should not hear, chant, and remember, then he comes to the second question, the second part. Then what one should hear, chant, and remember. That time he speaks this 2:15. Tasmat Bharat Sarvatma Bhagwan Ishwaro Hari Shotavya Kirtadavyasya Smartavyasya Ichithabhayam. So what one should hear? He should hear about, and glorify and remember the activities of the Lord. And all this is, his glorious activities are mentioned in, especially the Bhagavatam. Especially in the Bhagavatam. And one should not indulge in, hearing and chanting talks about any mundane activities. It is a deep-rooted disease. Prajalpa is a very, very, very deep-rooted disease. It is an epidemic. The statistics is 1 out of 5 males is going to die with cancer, and whereas, and 1 out of 10 women have breast cancer. So this is a very epidemic disease in the whole world. But the greater disease is the disease of Prajalpa. Because Prajalpa kills the consciousness of the soul which should flow towards the Krishna. And that's why Rupa Goswami is so heavy. Shadbhir bhaktir vinashyati. Vishesh rupena nashyati. It destroys completely. So that's why Prabhupada is saying one should mold his life and engage in godly activities without wasting a second. And Isopanisad is also directing like that, he says. And then Prabhupada in the last paragraph gives a call that ultimately, one should mold his activities so that he can remember the Lord at the time of death. There is a Bengali saying, sadhan karle, bhajan karle, marta janla hoy. Whether one has done sadhana, how one will come to know at the time of death. Because at the time of death, if you're able to remember Krishna, that means you have done your sadhana. And Krishna also tests sadhakas. Sometimes devotees fall sick and they are not able to practice their sadhana when they are sick. So they are very weak spiritually. That's why. Otherwise, the spirit soul is not affected by the material coverings of the gross and subtle bodies. So he can continue his sadhana even when he's sick. But when he's conditioned, he is affected, by the disease or by the health. And that's why he's not able to practice his sadhana as he used to practice when he's healthy. So then, if that is the state, when we are having little fever or little bodily problem, then what is going to happen when death will come, when the body is dislocated? Please mark this statement, when the body is dislocated. Actually, many years back, when I was an engineering student. I was coming back from my college on a two-wheeler, and there was a oil tanker which was moving, and a person on a two-wheeler, that time it was a simple two-wheeler, hit the backside guard of the truck, and his two-wheeler got stuck in the tires, and he himself was crushed. His legs got crushed. In fact, his limbs were dislocated. I could see that scene. It's such a painful scene, when the body, like the limbs get dislocated. So I had an experience many years back when I had some health issues, and I could experience that how more than the dislocation of the limbs of the body, your arm gets dislocated or the leg gets dislocated. But at the time of death, the subtle body and the gross body are dislocated. Although there is no kind of physical, removal, like, the physical removal of a arm in an accident or a limb, the leg limb, which is very, very, very painful. And, in that condition, it's very difficult to remember the Lord. More painful, more severe painful is the dislocation of the gross and subtle bodies. And it is still very difficult to remember the Lord that time. So that is why one should practice his bhajan so that he is able to remember the Lord. And Prabhupada gives the definition of sacrifice, a very, very interesting definition. He gives a very generic sense of the meaning of sacrifice. Sacrifice means denying the interest of the senses. And then he says one has to use the senses in the service of the master of the senses. And then the results can be used at the time of death. Sarvopadi Vinirmuktam. So here in the slides, I have mentioned, the broad sense of the meaning of sacrifice, yagya. Sacrifice means denying the interest of the senses. This is a broad meaning. Then there is the average sense of the meaning of sacrifice. Sacrifice for a higher being, just like yagyas we do for the devatas. And then there is a highest sense. That is, yagya means Lord Vishnu or sacrificial performances. All sacrificial performances are also meant for the satisfaction of Lord Vishnu. Yagyo vai Vishnu, as the Vedas enjoy. So sacrifice can have this, many, many meanings. And just like a student likes to play, but he sacrifices that interest and studies very hard for a higher purpose. So like that, there are different levels of sacrifice, and the highest is, to sacrifice our interest, deny the interest of the senses, and engage the senses in the service of the master of the senses. So that's the point. Now here, there is one point I wanted to bring out about apichet suduracharo, which somehow I skipped it after describing conditional activities and constitutional activities. That Krishna is saying him as a sadhu, but we sometimes see him as a sadhu and we commit aparadha, as mentioning. So even if he commits a sudurachara activity, Krishna sees him as a sadhu. So how are Lord Krishna's eyes? So in the Vishnu Sahasranam, Lord Krishna is called with many, many names. One is Om Nimeshaya Nama. Om Animeshaya Nama. Now this is the translation given, by so-called scholars and all. A Lord who has closed his eyes in contemplation. Nimeshaya. Nimesha means he's closed his eyes. And Animeshaya means, the Lord remains unwinking, ever knowing. Once his eyes are open. His eyes are closed in meditation. So that's how they have translated. But Baldev Vidyabhushan, who has written a commentary on the Vishnu Sahasranama, he gives a very interesting explanation. Gurur Guru Tamo Dhama Satya Satya Parakrama Nimesho Animesha Sragvi Vachaspatir Udharadhi. Lord Krishna empowers the initiating and the instructing spiritual masters to benefit the residents of the material world. Guru. He himself is the best of the spiritual masters who taught Brahma and other great devotees. Guru Tama. Krishna is Guru Tama. He is the shelter and the resting place of everything. Dham. He is the benefactor of Vishwamitra and other saintly devotees who are always truthful. Satya. His extraordinary prowess is supremely auspicious. Satya Parakrama. Prowess. Parakrama. He blinks, not recognizing the merit of sinful actions. So the sinful actions of his devotees, when a devotee does any sinful activity, Sudurachara activity, Krishna closes his eyes. What is the classic example of this in the Bhagavatam? Anyone knows? When somebody is about to do a sinful activity and Krishna closes his eyes, he doesn't want to see that. Anyone knows the classic example in Krishna Leela? Anyone knows? Putana, yes, when Putana was about to come and kill Krishna, smear that poison, Krishna closed his eyes. So he blinks, not recognizing the merit of the sinful actions. That is how Vishnu Chakrataguru goes into the heart of Krishna in translating this verse. And he never blinks his continual recognition of the auspicious actions of devotional service, animation. But we as conditioned soul, how our eyes are? When the devotees are performing devotional service, we don't, see. But if he commits any sinful activity, immediately our eyes are wide open. He wears a Vaijanti garland, Shragvi, and is the protector of Saraswati, Vachaspati. He is generous, Dharati. So, Nimesha is closes eyes to our mistakes. Animesha means keeps eyes open to our service. So that's why, that's how Lord Krishna's eyes are. This I forgot to explain after this conditional and constitutional activities. And we have discussed the concept of yagya. So that completes our discussion on this verse. So any questions anyone has? Any questions, any clarifications? Any question? Yes. Any questions? Anyone has any questions? Any clarifications? Yes, there is one question. Yes, Birendra Yadav Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu Dandapada. Prabhu, referring this this Shrestha Nam Sankirtan. This Nam Sankirtan refers to personal chanting or congregational chanting, majority.
See, Nam Sankirtan means Kirtan can be japa, Kirtan can be Kirtan where we Sorry, the connection got cut. So there is no question of offenses there in the Kirtan or in the Sankirtan when we go out in the streets and chant. But while chanting Japan or beads, there is, question of offenses there. So niraprade namaloy. So niraprad, when we take that nam, then, we will attain premada. So specifically it refers to japa. I hope it is clear.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? So I'll just begin today mantra 18 and only cover one theme because I want to finish tomorrow a little early so that we can complete the whole syllabus. So I'll just take up the mantra 18 first part today and we'll continue our discussion tomorrow further. Is it okay? Everyone okay? We still have time. Everyone is okay or no? Yes or no? Yes means you can raise your hands. Okay. Yeah, mantra 18. Okay. Yes, fine, fine, fine. Thank you. So this is the last prayer. And this is a very heart-rending prayer of the Rishi. Agnenaya supataraya sman vishwani deva vyavnani vidvan yuyudhyasmaj juhurananneno uyishtam te nama uktim vidhema. O my Lord, as powerful as fire, Agni. The Lord is addressed as Agni. O omnipotent one, Rai. Rai is omnipotent. Now I offer you all obeisances. Te nama uktim vidhema. Falling on the ground at your feet, bhuyishtama. O my Lord, Deva, please lead me, Naya. Nayan means, the path of our eyes. Jagannatha Swami Nayana Patagami. Let my Nayana Pata be always towards your beautiful form. So Naya means please lead me on the right path to reach you. Supatha. Pata means path and the right path is Supata. Sometimes, Vipatti aa gaya hamare जीवन में we say, na? So the opposite of Supata is Vipata. And since you know, Vidwan, all that I have done in the past, Asman Vishwani Vyaunani, please free me from the reactions of my past sins so that there will be no hindrance to my progress. Yuyudya Asmaj Juhuranam Eno. Eno means sins. Ena means sin in Sanskrit. Please free me from these sins. So there is a no hindrance. So this is a very, very devotional prayer. You can see the speaker humbly throws himself at the lotus feet of the Lord and begs for guidance and for help to become free from his karma. Now let us see Baldev Vidyabhushan's commentary on this. Baldev Vidyabhushan's commentary is very short and very insightful. After praying for the direct vision of the Lord, that is verses 15 and 16, the devotee prays for liberation to the Lord addressed as fire, Agni. The meter is Trishubda. O person who has many pastimes, Deva. O Lord in the form of fire, Agni. Lead us to the right path, the path of liberation, Devayana, or the treasure of liberation, Raye. How the Lord is described? He knows, Vidwan, all Vishwani, our actions, or all of our knowledge, Vyaunani. Separate us, Asman Yuyudhi, from sins. Ena is sin I mentioned, which are crooked, Juhuranam, forming obstacles to liberation in the form of desires. Many times, Bhuishtama, may we offer respect, Namauktim, to you, Te, in order to become pure. We cannot repay you for responding to our desires. All we can do is offer repeated respects. So that's a brief commentary of Baldev Vidyabhushan. Any questions on this, on Baldev Vidyabhushan's commentary? Any questions, any clarifications on this? Okay, so then we will go to the themes here. So today we will discuss only the first theme. Tomorrow we will discuss the other two themes. Tomorrow will be a brief class where we'll discuss the other two themes. How obstacles on the spiritual path originate. Prabhupada speaks about this in paragraph 1. So who will read paragraph 1? Okay. Paragraph 1. Anyone would like to volunteer? Rajeshwari Mataji has already read. Aarti Mataji, you would like to read? Rajeshwari Mataji, do you have a question or what? Yes, Aarti Mataji, you can start reading.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dhanat Pranam. Yes, Prabhuji. By surrendering to the Lord and praying for his causeless mercy, the devotee can progress on the path of complete self-realization. The Lord is addressed as fire because he can burn anything into ashes, including the sins of the surrendered soul. As described in the previous mantras, the real or ultimate aspect of the Absolute is his feature as the personality of Godhead, and his impersonal Brahma Jyoti feature is a dazzling covering over his face. Fruitive activities or the Karmakanda path of self realization is the lowest stage in this endeavor. As soon as such activities even slightly deviate from the regulative principles of the Vedas, they are transformed into vikarma or acts against the interest of the actor. Such vikarma is enacted by the illusioned living entity simply for sense gratification, and thus such activities become hindrances on the path of self realization.
Yeah. So what are the hindrances in the path of self-realization? What is Prabhupada saying? In essence,
Karma kandas.
karma kanda, but in essence, sense gratification.
Yeah.
Sense gratification is the hindrance in the path of self-realization. As long as one is attached to sense gratification, even the slightest of the slightest, even if one has one desire, to enjoy in this world, even one desire he has to stay in the material world. So this is the obstacle Prabhupada is speaking about. And the Lord is addressed as Agni here because the Lord is like fire. He can burn into ashes the sins of the surrendered. So in this context, there is one theme. In the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Rupa Goswami, first of all, gives the definition of pure devotional service. Uttama Bhakti. He defines Uttama Bhakti. And then the characteristics of pure devotional service. Please remember, these are the characteristics of pure devotional service. So he mentions 6 characteristics of pure devotional service. Kleshagni, Shubhadha, Moksha Lagutakrit, Sudurlabha, Sandranand Visheshatma, and Sri Krishna Akarshani. These are the 6 characteristics of pure devotional service. And when he goes to Kleshagni, Klesha means, sufferings. Agni means it's like a fire. It is burned. All these sufferings are burned. And sufferings, klesha are of 3 types, he says. Because of prarabdha, aprarabdha, and papam. Kleshas are of 3 types because of papa bija, the seed of sin, avidya, ignorance, and papam. Because we commit sinful activities, then we suffer. And within papam, there is prarabdha and aprarabdha. There's prarabdha karma, there's suffering in this lifetime. When we get a body in this lifetime, whatever we are going to suffer, that is called as prarabdha karma. And the future lives, what are we going to suffer, the reactions which are going to come in the future lives, that is called as aprarabdha. The seeds are still not fructified. So Rupa Goswami establishes that how bhakti, especially Uttama Bhakti, Shuddha Bhakti, destroys both aprarabdha and prarabdha. And first for aprarabdha, he gives evidence. And that's why this is the verse from the Bhakti Rasamrita. Tatra aprarabdha haratvam yata ekadashi, 12th canto. How bhakti destroys aprarabdha. Yathagni susamridarchi karote dhamsi bhasmasat tata madvishaya bhakti uddhavenam shri krishnasha. My dear Uddhava, just as a blazing fire, yatha agni susamriddha archi. Archi means fire, and samriddha. Samriddha means it's not just like just a fire which is burning. It is a blazing fire. That's why susamriddha. Riddha, samriddha. Riddha means, it is fire, but samriddha means samyak rupena, complete fire. And susamriddha means really blazing fire. So our bhakti also should be like, tivrena bhakti yogena. Burns to ashes. Karoti bhasmasat, all the fuel. Idhamsi. Wood is called as idhamsi. Similarly, tata, devotional service in relation to me, mad vishaya bhakti, burns to ashes all sinful reactions. Enamshi. So enam was mentioned in the Isopanisad words also. Just like burning firewood is secondary to cooking, burning karma is just secondary to the real goal of bhakti. So nobody goes to the kitchen and, he wants to create ash by burning wood. It's meant for cooking so that we cook nice, delicious items for offering to Radha and Krishna. And a byproduct is what? Ash is naturally created. Similarly, we don't do bhakti to eradicate our sinful reactions. Bhakti is performed for the pleasure of Krishna, and the sinful reactions are automatically burnt off. So this is one reference for aprarabdha haratvam. And in the Gita also, there is 4.37. Yate dhamse samdidvagnir bhasmasat kurte arjuna jnanagni sarva karmani bhasmasat kurte tata. As a blazing fire. Now here also it is blazing fire. Samviddo agnir. Burns to ashes. Bhasmasat kurte. All the wood, idhamsi. Here also wood is idhamsi. The fire of knowledge, tata jnana agni. This is the fire of bhakti, bhakti knowledge. Turns all actions into ashes. Sarva karmani bhasmasat kurute. So these are the two references which we can speak of. So the real obstacles are sense gratification, and sense gratification creates vikarma, sinful reactions, and we have to suffer. And this becomes an obstacle in our bhakti. And bhakti destroys everything, just like the Lord is a fire, just like the fire, a blazing fire destroys all the wood, turns it to ashes. So Shuddha Bhakti destroys all the sins of the surrendered soul. So the next two themes we will see tomorrow. But any questions up till now? Yes, Birendra Yadav Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhupada.
Yes.
So, referring to this, just we discussed this devotional service destroy prarabdha, arabdha, and aprarabdha karma. So, what about when we see devotees suffering? How do we see that suffering?
Yes,
It
when
should be
devotees are
destroyed why they are
suffering,
suffering.
Yeah, Vishwanath Chakra Thakur and Jeev Goswami, again in their commentaries to the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, mention that when the devotees are suffering, they are destroying all their sinful reactions. And when devotees are, experiencing happiness in Krishna consciousness, they are destroying all their pious reactions. So like that, as long as one is not free from the sinful reactions and the pious reactions, they are like obstacles in one sense. And then when devotee is on the transcendental platform, he experiences a higher spiritual happiness in the form of rasa in relationship to the Lord. So one has to become free from all these pious reactions and sinful reactions also. Isham tu antagatam papam jananam punya karmanam te dvanda moha nirmukta bhajante mam dridavata. So antagatam papam has to happen, and then only he'll be able to perform his bhajan without being affected by the dualities of this world. Is it okay, Prabhuji?
Right, Prabhu. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions anyone has? Yes, Dwarkadish Prabhuji.
Okay, so this question is about our examination structure, because only in the last month.
Hold on. Okay, any other questions which related to the discussion we had? Any other questions anyone has? No, okay. So we'll stop here. Ish Upanishads ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.